Wide receiver has quietly become one of the most powerful positions in modern football. Get the right one, and he can transform an offense, and even a quarterback, almost overnight. We've seen it repeatedly this decade. Stephon Diggs helping elevate Josh Allen into an MVP-level quarterback, rookie Jamar Chase powering a Super Bowl run against Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill fueling Miami to having the league's #1 offense, and Jackson Smith-Njigba helping push Seattle to a championship. Elite receivers raise team ceilings, and it's why they're drafting and paying them like never before. 14 wide receivers are making at least $25 million per year, the most amongst non-quarterbacks, and 32 have been drafted in the first round since 2020. That trend continues with the 2026 class, and one prospect stands above the rest. Today, we're diving into Jordyn Tyson and why he can be a true difference-making wide receiver one in the NFL. What is up, guys? Welcome back inside the Turfed Football Podcast studio. The NFL Combine is tomorrow. The NFL Draft is around the corner, and so I have started to scout some of the top prospects in this year's class, and I started with arguably the most fun position, and that is wide receiver. Of course, my Buffalo Bills are expected to take one in the early rounds, and it's a very intriguing class, especially at the top, because there really are three guys running away with, I guess, the top three at their respective position. Jordyn Tyson is a fantastic separator who's going to get open and shows off a ton of inside-outside versatility. Carnell Tate is a bigger 6'3", primarily outside guy. I would argue he's the best deep threat in this class and has the best hands in this class. And then Mai Lemon is a slot demon from USC. He is, I guess, more undersized, but is super tough and has a ton of ability after the catch. What's so fun to watch about not only these three prospects, but about the entire class at wide receiver, which is very deep, is that all these prospects are really good, especially Tyson and Tate and Lemon. And when you're picking who it is that is your favorite, you really just need to determine what kind of style of receiver you like best, what your preference is in a #1 wide receiver. And for me, I love the skill set that Jordyn Tyson brings to the table, and I'm going to explain why in today's video. The superstar receiver from Arizona State is, like I said, the best route runner in this year's class. He's very quick and very deceptive, and nobody separates from man coverage better than Tyson. He averaged 86.3 yards per game while scoring 19 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. His movement skills are elite for a 6'2", 200-pound wideout who can play both inside and outside. The strongest part of his game, though, comes at the line of scrimmage, where he's going to use an exotic set of releases to leave press corners in the dust and win the leverage battle. Nobody, and I mean nobody, dropped more corners in a one-on-one coverage than Tyson in 2025. Now, he has struggled with drops in the past, but he did show improvements this year as his drop rate fell to a solid 1.6%. His downfield ball tracking and his body control are amongst the best in the class. And he did show some flashes as an athletic yards after catch threat, as you can see by that hurdle. But his best ability really is getting open, which I believe, and it's why he's my favorite, is the most important trait for NFL receiving prospects. I mean, if you cannot separate from college corners, then best of luck at the next level. He also showed a good understanding of how to beat zone coverage, often settling into the defense's soft spots. He reads the defense quickly and oftentimes preys on opposing defenders' leverage to expose them with shoulder fakes or rocker steps at the top of his routes, using his eyes and hips to make players believe he's going one way before snapping his routes off in a totally different direction. He was considered the best player on the field for ASU's offense, as evidenced by his team relying on him to win on 3rd and 4th downs, and their opponent frequently trying to bracket him with double coverage. The proof was in the pudding against Texas Tech this season when ASU targeted him all over the field on their game-winning drive, despite him suffering a hamstring injury, which I'll get to later, earlier in the game. He helped deliver Texas Tech their only loss of the regular season by catching 10 passes for 105 yards and a touchdown. But But his stats do not tell the entire story from that game. Seriously, this guy wants the ball in big moments, and he delivered time and time again for the Sun Devils. The reason I'm showing you guys specifically this final drive against Texas Tech is because Jordyn Tyson single-handedly took over the game with less than 2 minutes to play against one of the best teams and defenses in the entire nation. And at the end of the day, that's what wide receiver ones do. When everybody in the stadium knows the ball is going their way, they still get open and they still make plays in crunch time. The other thing I wanted to explain to you guys on video was the type of gravity that he sees from opposing teams' coverages. This is 3rd and 9 versus Utah. He's seen press coverage in the slot, and there's man across the board and a one high safety to the right of your screen. It looks like it's probably some version of a cover one blitz from the Utah defense. But after the snap, that safety is going to get downhill, get hands on Tyson as best he can to not only slow down the vertical release, but force him back into the outside leverage of the nickel corner. It's a in and out bracket / double team that works, I guess, good for Utah. However, Tyson is just so dynamic. He's able to push back into the underthrown ball and draw a flag, ultimately giving ASU a first down. They really were not worried about anybody else but Tyson on this play. This next example is objectively hilarious. It's the same game, it's 3rd and long, and again, it's another single high man coverage look from Utah. The passing strength is, of course, to the right for ASU as they have trips, while Tyson is the isolated receiver to the left side. That single high safety should probably open to the trips. Again, that's the passing strength, 3 against 1. But instead, post-snap, he's going to just sprint as fast as he can to get over top of Tyson, creating a high-low double team. Utah and many other teams tried their best not to let Tyson break the game open. And that really tells you the whole story. If opposing defensive coordinators in the Big 12 knew that he was bar none the best player on the field and the one they had to defend against the most, he's probably a pretty good receiver. Now, his yards per route run did decrease this past season, but it really was due to inconsistent quarterback play and injuries. I do think that he will be an efficient receiver in the right offense. I mean, he did record a 3.04 yards per route run in 2024, so I'm not that worried about it. The only thing I see potentially holding him back is that he is fairly slender, and it has allowed physical corners to affect his routes when they're able to stay in phase, which is rare, but did show up on tape. He dealt with a torn ACL and MCL, I believe, a couple of years ago, and more notably, as I showed, suffered from a hamstring injury this season, so his medical at the combine could affect his draft stock, although as far as I know, he isn't participating in on-the-field drills, which is disappointing. Don't get me wrong. There are receivers, who I will mention, that have stronger statistical profiles and are better deep threats. But if you are looking for a pass catcher who gets open on money downs when you need it most, then Tyson is your guy. He can be the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who you can ISO during the final possession for a bucket, or the Quinn Hughes that makes man defenders look silly with his skating and deception in overtime, for those of you who like hockey and basketball. Opposing defenses were petrified of leaving Tyson in one-on-ones, and eventually I think that NFL teams will feel the same way. I also wanted to break down the other top guys in this class, for better or for worse, and that starts with Ohio State's Carnell Tate. He's 6'3", 195 pounds, and he's the best deep threat in this class, thanks to his route running and his fantastic hands. He didn't drop a single pass in 2025, and his 85.7% contested catch rate ranked first in the nation amongst receivers with 10+ contested targets. He doesn't have crazy speed. He's most likely not going to run a 4.3, but he was still able to separate downfield consistently in 2025. However, Tate did benefit from Jeremiah Smith, who's an absolute freak, seeing double teams, which oftentimes left him in advantageous one-on-one situations. Outside of Tyson, Smith was the only receiver I saw double teamed like a true wide receiver one. And if Tate were to draw more attention as an ex-receiver for a rebuilding NFL franchise, how would that affect his production? Personally, I want to see him improve his short area route running before I see him getting the target share of a wide receiver worth drafting in the top 5 to 10 picks. A lot of people see him going to either the Giants at 5 or the Browns at 6. But his potential is certainly sky high. I will give him credit for that, and he has the surest hands in this class. The other aspect of his game that will go under the radar is his ability and willingness to block in the run game. He was asked to do a ton of heavy lifting for OSU's offense, and he handled it really well, so that should make him a 3-down receiver from day one. Up next, from the University of Southern California, it's Mai Lemon, and unlike Tate, the 5'11", 195-pound receiver from USC is going to warrant a ton of targets. Like I said, he is the best slot receiver in this class, and he really does have a running back's mentality, which makes him, again, elite after the catch. Now, he grades out as the draft's best receiver statistically, having finished this past season with 1,156 yards and 11 touchdowns. His 3.13 yards per route run is tops in the class, despite having seen 108 targets. And despite his smaller frame, he is not afraid to high point the football, finishing with 10 contested catches in 2025. Lemon's going to be able to run the entire route tree from anywhere on the field, really, but he does lack somewhat in size and speed. He's probably not going to create downfield explosives at the same rate as Tyson or Tate at the next level, and instead will likely rely on turning shorter passes into chunk gains. I would say that he's the safest or surest pick, if you will, of the top 3 receivers, but I don't think he has as high a ceiling, especially from an athletic standpoint, as Tyson or Tate. Before ending today's video, I wanted to leave you all with an NFL comp for Jordyn Tyson, which I'm sure all of you love hearing, including myself, from NFL draft analysts or scouts. Now, I'm not going to give you Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, but without further ado, I would say that Tyson compares most to Stevie Johnson when I watch him. He was 6'2", 210 pounds during his NFL career, and of course I mentioned Tyson is 6 feet tall and played at 200 pounds during his final season at Arizona State, and I think he could add some more weight to his frame. Now, outside of their size, the most comparable trait between these two guys is not only their elite route running, but more specifically, their elite release package. Stevie is known for and famous for beating corners off the line of scrimmage, specifically Darrelle Revis, the Hall of Famer. He's one of the only receivers that's ever really been able to get to Revis, and he always makes it known on Twitter. Both Tyson and Stevie can beat guys with incredible routes in a phone booth, and I do think Tyson has some more traits that will make him a more productive receiver at the next level, and hopefully he'll play with a better string of quarterbacks than Stevie did in the NFL, but he is who I believe Tyson's play style compares to most when projecting him to the NFL. Now, that is all for today's video, guys, so please leave a like or a comment, and of course subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. With the NFL Combine starting this week and then the NFL Draft around the corner, I'm looking forward to making so many more videos about the top prospects. Peace out.